Good evening to one and all. Welcome you all to the Daily Indian Express newspaper analysis for the date 16th November 2023, brought to you by Ganesh IS Academy. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. So mentioned here are the list of articles which we are going to have the analysis in the upcoming slides. So have a look at it. Okay, let's get into the today's newspaper analysis. To build tunnel, rock must be thoroughly examined. More time spent on studies. So this is what the article is related to, which is related to a recent collapse of the tunnel in Uttarakhand. So since the news is related to a disaster, under prelims it is related to current event of national as well as international importance. Under GS paper 3, disaster, under a subtopic called disaster as well as disaster management. Okay, so the under construction tunnel on Yamunotri National Highway in Uttarakhand's district has collapsed, and right now 40 persons have got struck in the collapsed tunnel. So this is the unofficial report according to the paper. So what could have been the cause? Since the official examined reason or the cause of the collapse was not yet brought yet, but the article is suggesting this might be the cause. First is the loose spats in the rocks. See, certain rocks may be weakened and they may have a loosened patches across their borders, which might get unnoticed, so it may lead to a collapse. And secondly, there is a chance of seeping of water into the loose patch of the rocks. So these two might be the reason for the collapse of the tunnel that has happened in Uttarakhand. So ways in which the tunnels are excavated in the rocks are of two types. One is drill and blast method, which is called as DBM method. Similarly, tunnel boring machine. This drill and blast method is conventional method, that is the drilling a hole into the rock and then keeping an explosive into the hole, so that when the explosive burst means the bigger tunnel will be created depending upon the size of the explosive that is kept inside the hole of the rock. And this tunnel boring machine is the new invention we could have seen in the construction of the metro system. This tunnel boring machine bore the rock. It would be in the form of circular, huge. The radius would be very high, and it will be boring the rock from the front, and at the same time it will support the excavated tunnel behind by installing a concrete precast concrete in it, so that the tunnel won't get collapsed. So these are all the two types of excavation techniques that has been used in recent times. So what limitations the techniques has is that the TBM method, that is the tunnel boring machine, can't be used in the hilly as well as mountainous areas, because the mountainous areas would be, for example, the Himalayan areas and other mountainous areas would be in the range of height would be in the range of 1000 to 2000 meters. So the tunnel with the help of TBM machine could not be made, because it could not able to withstand the pressure that is mounting from the top. So that is the reason why the TBM machine can't be used in the hilly areas, but in the areas which has lower level of height, like in the case of cities and other areas, suburban and other areas, this TBM machine could be used. For example, Mumbai Metro, Chennai Metro, etc. Is Himalayan region too fragile to tunnel through? This is what the question. What the expert has said is that yes, the Himalayan mountain is still young only, because it has originated since its origin date has been traced back to 40 to 50 million years ago. Similar, and at the same time it is still growing because of the collapse or the collision between tectonic plate between India as well as the Eurasian plate, and the some patches were rock in the Himalayan areas, according to the expert, some patches in the rock is fragile and some part will be strong. It is not that every Himalayan region is not conducive for this infrastructure development. It is not so. And at the same time, this kind of failures, it might be prevented with the help of technical solution, and the tunnel building technique is around for 200 years, and it is not the new method that has been invented in the recent decades, and it is the method which does not cause any damage to the ecosystem and the surrounding environment. So this is what the view that has been brought out by the article in this newspaper. So what is the key aspect of building a tunnel is, what should be done before building a tunnel is, there need to be a thorough investigation of rocks with the help of seismic refractive waves, and after investigation of rocks, a petrographic analysis, which is right now done in India. What does this petrographic analysis means is that it analyzes the rocks microscopic things like mineral content, grain size, textures, etc. So these are all the things which need to be done before taking up the project of building the tunnel. And what to do it takes to construct a stable tunnel is, even after excavating and providing a support for the tunnel, it need to be monitored. The monitoring after constructing a tunnel is very important, like with the help of technologies like stress meters, deformation meters, etc. And at the same time, the support of the tunnels need to be tested in relation to its adequacy, whether it is adequate enough to support the tunnel which has been excavated. And then more time need to be given for studying, which is the lacking in India. Why? Because this, that study time as well as the constructing time is going parallelly in India, in Indian construction activities. So what the article is saying is that more amount of time need to be allocated for studying the excavation of tunnels, and after studying the excavation of tunnel comprehensively only, the implementational aspect of this tunnel need to be made. So this is what the things brought out by the article. So this is what with relation to the tunnel, and this is a technique. So since the tunnel got collapsed, more amount of person or the working people got stuck in the tunnel. So there are efforts being made to bring the struck person out of the tunnel. So out of the effort, one of the technique that is going to be used is the trenchless technique. See, this is what the technique is about. So trenchless technique is nothing but a construction method used to install or repair or rehabilitate a underground infrastructure, and it is most widely used technique for repairing the damages that has been made in the sewage systems. And this is what the technique that is going to be implemented in the excavation of those person who got stuck in the tunnel. So after that, the trenchless technique after being implemented, those tunnel, that is the technique will be creating a tunnel, and those tunnel will be laid with mild steel pipes, and these steel pipes contains lesser amount of carbon, like in the case of 0.25% and more less than the 0.2% of carbon, and are used across industries due to their versatility as well as strength. Why it has been used is that this steel pipes could able to create mild steel pipes could able to create a stable pathway, and then it is, as I said, it is highly flexible, and at the same time it provides stability for the person, those who are going in those tunnel with the where the mild steel pipe has been laid. And the horizontal auger, the machine that is going to make a tunnel underneath the tunnel which has been collapsed, is horizontal auger. So this is what the diagram is about. This is how it will look like. So it will have a blade, rotating blade, which will be fitted with shaft, and this rotating blade will be drilling through the underground areas to create a tunnel through which only the mild steel pipe will be created, and this, with the help of this only, and the underground tunnel will be created, and the material which has been dispatched because of this drilling will be taken away or taken outside the tunnel with the help of the elevation. With the help of elevation, that is with the help of gravity, all the material which has been broken away because of the building of the underground tunnel to excavate those people, those who are present in the tunnel. It is what it is. So it will be with the help of the slope, that is the gravity, all the excavated material will be taken out of. So this is what the horizontal auger mission is about, and this that is what the overall technique is called as trenchless technique, and this technique is being, as I said, going to be implemented to help the people, or to bring back the people, those who have been got struck under the excavation, the collapsed excavation. So what need to be studied further is, we should know about Himalayas, the geography of Himalayas. Secondly, we should also be aware of Uttarakhand's geography, and then most importantly the geography of Ganges. And thirdly, we should also be aware of what is natural disasters, what is man-made disasters, what are all the types of natural as well as man-made disasters are prevailing. So these are all the things which we need to be aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Indian Express, the news which came in today's newspaper, it came as Asian Pacific Economic Cooperation. So why the APEC as came in news is because of the meeting that has been going on in San Francisco, and on the sidelines of meeting, summit between that, a meeting between the Biden, the US President Biden, as well as the Chinese President Xi Jinping will be made today. So that is the reason why this institution came in today's newspaper. And how the news is related to examination is, under prelims it is related to current event of national as well as international importance. Similarly, under means it is linked with important international institutions, agencies, forums, the structures and mandates, which comes under GS paper 2. So as I said, the APEC meeting is right now going on in San Francisco, and as a part of it, on the sidelines, US President as well as Chinese President are going to meet, and this is the first ever meet after the heat in terms of their trade has taken place. So what is this Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation is about? It is the regional economic forum that was established in 1989, and 21 countries are part of it. They are Australia, Brunei, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Hong Kong. Hong Kong is participating as distinct countries, but as a part of China. At the same time, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Singapore, Thailand, Chinese Taipei, that is Taiwan. Taiwan is also participating as distinct country, but in the name of China. As a part of China. And then China, mainland China, Japan, South Korea, Russia, Canada, US, Mexico, Peru, and Chile. So these are all the countries that are part of APEC, and we should be aware that India is not a part of APEC, which we need to be aware of, and it is the potential prelims question. So why the APEC country has been formed is, APEC organization is formed is to promote the free trade between the member countries. And according to the 1991 Seoul Declaration, which is the declaration of APEC, what it has said is that their main objective is to create a free trade areas across the Asia Pacific region, and This is what the thing is. And India made a pitch to join the APEC in 1991. What India has said is that in 2016, in relation to the India's request to join APEC in the parliament, is what our commerce during our commerce ministry has said is that India's request to join the geographical location, that is the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, is because of India's potential size of the economy and also the degree of trade interaction with the Asia Pacific India has. So these are all the reason why India is vying or trying to get into Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. So this is what the thing is. So what we need to be aware of is we should be aware of ACO, BRICS, SAARC and BIMSTEC. These are all the areas where India is part of. Secondly, we should be aware of the Pacific geography, and thirdly, we should also be aware of the Pacific Rim of Fire. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. India, US and other IPEF, India Indo-Pacific Economic Framework members, Inc. Supply Chain Resilience Pact. So since the news is related to international grouping, under prelims it is related with current event of national as well as international importance. Similarly, under GS paper 2 international relation, under a subtopic called important international institution, agencies, fora, their structure and mandate. So what the news is about is, as I said, India, US as well as other 12 member countries of IPEF have signed a supply chain resilience agreement. So as a part of it, as a part of the agreement, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to cut the dependence on China and help to diversify the supply chain across different countries, and also at the same time help the manufacturers to shift their base from Chinese to other countries. So this is what the aim of this pact is about, and it is the first of kind of such an agreement. So this is what the news is. Let's have a look into what is this India Indo-Pacific Economic Framework is about. It is the framework which was launched in Tokyo 2023, and IPEF is not a traditional trade agreement where we should have binding on all the aspect of the agreement. It is not the case with IPEF. So here IPEF contains 4 pillars. First is fair and resilient trade, that is a pillar related to trade, and the pillar related to supply chain, and the pillar related to infrastructure, and the fourth pillar is related to tax. So under this, the IPEF is based on this kind of 4 pillars, and it has 14 members. Apart from India and US, it is Australia, Brunei, Fiji, Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, New Zealand, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam and the US. And what is the speciality of this framework is, the member countries contribute nearly 40% of the world GDP, and at the same time 28% of the world trade in terms of goods and service. And India is not a part of trade pillars because the conditions or the negotiations that is happening in the trade pillar is not satisfying the India's demand. So what is the significance this IPEF, that is the framework, is going to have for India is, first and foremost, it is beneficial for India's export. So the groupings will ensure that there will be a diversification in supply chain, so that India may receive certain amount of investors, those who are trying to shift their base from China, so that India could potentially act as one of the major exporters in the Asian region. Secondly, it counters the Chinese hegemony, which in turn is very positive for India only, because we are having more and more trade deficit with China. Once we are going to export more amount of products to the global arena, then our trade deficit will slowly be turning into the trade surplus. Thirdly, supply chain resilience. So during pandemic as well as this Russian-Ukraine war, after in the aftermath of this incident, what has happened is the price rise. The price rise has happened because of the supply chain restraints or the supply chain disturbance only. Why? Because this more amount of supply chain has been concentrated in certain handful of geographical areas. So by diversifying the supply chain, that kind of resilient the supply chain, by diversification the supply chain will get resilient, so that this kind of price knee-jerk price rise after now in the aftermath of those emergency incidents will not be taking place. Fourthly, collaboration of energy project between the countries. It provides an opportunity to collaborate in terms of energy projects, so that it will act as one of the major contributor for India's aim to achieve the non-fossil fuel based economy. So these are all the significance which India has. So what is the challenges as well as limitation of IPEF is that there is ambiguity in trade pillar. As I said, the trade negotiations as well as the ideas that has been tabled in the trade pillar is not satisfying the India's interest. Secondly, see, each and every countries have their own economic arrangement. So it might be difficult to bring all of them under a common one roof. And then this tax provisions, which is one of the pillars in the IPEF, is also another limitation area. Why? Because this taxation or the taxation policy in the countries is most importantly linked with the sensitive of the local environment, that is the domestic environment. So it is not possible to fix the common taxation framework under the IPE. So what are all the other features which other features apart from the features which we have discussed in the previous slide with respect to the IPEF is, first and foremost, this IPEF is not binding. Secondly, it is flexibility in terms of the participation. In conventional agreement, if a country is going to take part in the agreement, means then the country need to agree with all the terms and conditions. But in this framework, it is not so. If a country is not satisfied with a particular section of terms and condition, means it can back away from those terms and condition, but it could concentrate in other terms and condition where that particular country's interest has been satisfied. For example, in India, out of the 4 pillars, India has backed away from the trade pillar because it is not satisfying our interest, but India is participating in the other 3 pillars. Thirdly, it will promote infra as well as investment across the region, and it will ensure that the prosperity of the Indo-Pacific region is enhanced. So these are all the other features of IPEF. So what need to be studied is, we should be aware of what is this blue dot network. Secondly, what we should be aware of, what is this bring back better world, and then Asia Pacific economic cooperation and regional comprehensive economic partnership. See, these are all the things which we need to be aware of. And with this, we have reached the end of this topic. Need for World Bank's governance indicators to be transparent, said by chief economic advisor. So how the news has been related to examination is, under prelims, it is related to current event of national as well as international importance. Similarly, under mains, it is related to important international institutions, agencies, their forums, structures and mandates. So the World Bank's governance index indicators need to be transparent, set by India. Why? Because it is the collection of sub-index of various organizations. These organizations doesn't have connection with the local level environment or local level connection or local level sentiments. So they do not, these sub-index does not reflect the reality of the ground situation. So that is why India wants the governance index released by the World Bank need to be transparent. And another reason is, this indexes has been used by the rating agencies, the most important rating agencies, based on which the country's credit worthiness has been decided. So if The indexes is going to be subjective and less transparent, means it is going against the interest of most of the developing countries, most importantly India, which in turn will lead to lesser credit rating by the agencies. So in order to overcome this, the indicators need to be less subjective or no subjective, and then it need to be transparent. This is what the uh, reform which has been suggested by India in the World Bank or the multilateral meeting. So what does this World Governance Index? It is the governance index which has been released by World Bank, which calculates or aggregates the individual countries' governance indicators across 1996 to 2020. 6 dimensions of governance are voice and accountability, political stability and absence of violence / terrorism, government effectiveness, regulatory quality, rule of law, control of corruption. So these are all the dimensions of governance which has been covered under the index, and combines the large number of enterprise. As I said, this index is based on the subindex of various organizations. This subindex is based on the reporting by the enterprises, citizens, expert service, which is mostly of subjective in nature. And India's World Governance Index score is much below the recently released governance index score is much below the BBB median in all the 6 indicators. What is this BBB median is? BBB is nothing but investment grade rating, which has been issued by credit rating agency like Fitch as well as S&P. So below this means it is below this BBB means our credit worthiness is less. This is what the indicator is right now pointing out. So that is the reason why India is suggesting a reform in the World Bank's governance index in the World multilateral institution meetings. So what need to be studied further is, we should be aware of World Bank, IMF, their structure, mandate and their objectives. Secondly, we should be aware of SEO and then BRICS, what is their structure, mandate and what is their current situation and whether it is performing well according to the expectation or not. Thirdly, we should also be aware of ADB, that is Asian Development Bank, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. So these are all the other areas which we need to be further aware of, and with this we have reached the end of this topic. Okay, let's have a look into today's practice prelims question. So mentioned here is the today's practice prelims question which came in 2016 prelims. I want those students, those who are watching this session online, please do comment the option point for the question which you are seeing right now on the board. And with this, we have reached the end of this session. So please do like, comment, share and subscribe so that you will be getting the daily notification of the current affairs and also the important exam related series brought to you by, which will be brought to you in the future by Ganesh IAS Academy. Thank you.